I'm John. Hi, everybody.
Hello and welcome, everyone. We are cutting it right to the last minute today. We had some fun technical stuff happening just before going live. And before we do anything else, let's cut the music to John. There we go. John, where are you today?
Well, actually, I am sitting once again in an airport terminal. I'm about to jump on a flight to Melbourne. So,
okay.
Have you got? Oh, here we go. There I am. Hi, everybody. Great to see you. I'm travelling incognito today. You know, I'm trying to get out of Sydney without being noticed.
Yes, so, that shirt is definitely achieving that goal.
Absolutely. It's freezing cold here. I'm in a Hawaiian shirt. I mean, how can they pick it's me? Really?
Absolutely.
Yeah, welcome,
so
everybody.
what are you travelling for? Anything interesting?
Actually, I've been flying all week. I've been doing some aeromedical flying, and today I'm heading down to Melbourne to do a concert with the Australian Youth Band. So music stuff for the weekend, which is lovely, the way I like it. And home tomorrow for a gig, and then next Tuesday I'm out to Tamworth, and I've got 6 days out there flying. So, yeah, life's good. I got work.
That's definitely always a good thing. And just a couple of quick notes to people. I'm using a different camera today than what we've previously used before, and the rig is totally different in here. So apologies if we have any weird and unforeseen things, but that's life in live television. But before we move on, a couple of quick things. First of all, last week's experiment, I found out what was the cause of the problem that prevented us from proceeding with that as planned. And it's a simple human factors thing, John. You will definitely understand those words and those phrases.
Human factors we know all about. Yeah, I'm married. Oh, I mentioned that last week, didn't I?
You did. But the human factor involved with this particular one was the engineer that was going to cut over all of those video feeds into our show. He thought it was 24 hours later, a time zone mistake. Another thing that does impact, aviation. We've got those time zone crossovers and whatnot.
Well, those aviation buffs will know that the time zone mistake is why we lost Amelia Earhart in some regards, because the Itasca, the Coast Guard that was sending out a signal for her to home in on, was across the international date line, and they had the wrong day. They were getting ready for the day after. So, these things happen even today.
They do indeed. So to cut a long story short, 24 hours later, the guy that was going to cut it over was Skyping me and saying, so when do we start? So that's what went wrong. So Tal was trying to call the guy who was, kicking back and relaxing as you do, and he was asleep and his phone was turned off and he was uncontactable. So that's why we had that problem last week. I just wanted to share that. We are going to give that another try at some point in the future. Possibly next weekend, see how we go.
What about universal coordinated time, Greg? We could use Zulu time, if we use Greenwich Mean Time, we never get lost.
Yes, absolutely. The second one, before we get into the news, I got a question for everyone. And you might remember a while ago, John, we spoke about the BBC fake news, and in particular, their crucifying of drones hitting aircraft and all of that kind of stuff. Here's the question I've got for my viewers. BBC have told me that they think there's a copyright issue with my use of their footage. Now, technically speaking, I believe it fits under the fair use provisions. We didn't use all of it. We used small little snippets of it, and we're commenting on it when we're transforming it into a completely new work, commenting on it for news purposes. Now, I told them that and they went and said, no, we still want to take that video down. So I want to ask my viewers in the chat, what would you prefer to do? Either just leave it and forget about it, or should we fight it and see what happens, or maybe do another video where we rebroach that topic? So tell me what you think in the chat. Curious to hear what people think. Anyway, on to the news. So our first story today is related to something we saw on Ken Heron's show yesterday. He was talking about the new DJI drone and it being used to herd cows or have fun with cows. But when we talk about flying drones and you picture drone-filled scenes of daily life in the not-so-distant future, You don't think about farms and cows normally. Well, that view is changing. A team of researchers is working on a drone system for farmers. The idea is to identify cows on a farm and measure health information of the cows and facial features and even physical activity. Basically, the system is a sad cow detector.
Yeah, I love it.
Look, it's an interesting story and an interesting use of artificial intelligence, but they actually said that further into the story, where they're actually trying to detect the happiness of the cows. And this is big money, because if you've got cows that are dying through health issues and you can detect that and remediate that, that's a big saving for the farming industry.
Yep, I did check this out, Greg. And, one of the interesting technologies they're looking at alongside of this in terms of monitoring health or species tracking, if you like, is what it's called, is that you can put a small transceiver onto the cow's ear and measure the body temperature, pulse, oxygenation, whether the cow, you can actually measure a whole lot of health things, just like you would in a hospital by putting a sensor on. Now, of course, using the technology we have, you can fly over the herd and, of course, actually go and look at one of the ones that's showing, perhaps poor health or where it is. And remember that with a tracking device, a GPS tracking device on the cow, you know where everything is. You only really need to go and fly if you want to go and actually have a look at that particular cow. So, this is the 21st century in terms of how we're going to go with species tracking. And, they're going to be happy cows, aren't they? No one's going to get lost.
They are indeed. I'm just wondering if there's also some measurement at the other end of the spectrum and where you can have a bullshit detector for the story, but that's another.
I think I've got one of those on my ear. It goes off all the time. Absolutely.
Yeah. Our second story, this one is we've all seen the different counter UAS solutions, and this particular one, the Drona's counter UAS solution, provides drone control, uplink signal detection and disrupting capabilities. Even under challenging scenarios, it can be deployed on a variety of platforms, etc., suiting different profiles with numerous systems and operational government users. Let's have a quick look at some info about that.
Commercial drones can pose a potential threat if they are used for spying, smuggling, or in no-fly zones. Our Dronas from Rohde & Schwarz is used wherever its reliable defense is required. Our Dronas detects the remote control signals from drones and wards off threats effectively and reliably. Every second counts. A remote control is turned on.
So it's a great marketing video, but there's a reason why I picked this video to have a look at.
The drone is detected and classified.
Before, you've heard about people, doing simple jamming of signals, but there's something special here that we're going to have a look at in just one second.
The threat has been detected. The security personnel are informed. As soon as the drone approaches, the signal from the remote control can be cut off. Other radio transmissions in the same frequency band are still possible. The drone cannot advance further into the protected area, so it lands or returns to its takeoff site.
That's the interesting thing with this system. It's able to individually shut down one drone and one communication channel on that frequency band. Whereas if you compare that with a lot of the other counter UAS solutions, they're just going and nuking the frequency. So, I think that's quite an interesting next step in an evolution.
Well, I think they're going to have to do that kind of thing because at the moment, still the law says, you can't interfere with an aircraft. That's a curly one to get by. But, of course, we're going to see the day when you can actually safely take over port. And there was that type of system. I think you'd be grateful for the fact that it could probably lock into the telemetry and safely land the aircraft somewhere.
Yeah. Looking forward to seeing where that one goes and getting some more info. But I think picking that one drone on that frequency is a big step forward.
Yep, absolutely.
Let's move on. Our next story today. So we advocate following the rules when it comes to flying your drone very strongly. One prepared photographer with a DJI Mavic 2 Pro photographed an amazing photo of an NFL stadium, complete with the crowd in attendance. Normally, of course, you've got TFRs that prevent you from doing that. There we go, someone's ringing. Yep. After someone pointed out to him that the TFR is not active during pre-season games, the photographer decided this was going to be a limited opportunity to get an aerial photograph like this particular one, and it's an absolutely amazing photo.
Yeah, look at that.
I think the message is, anytime you do want to do something, don't be afraid to go and make a request. So there was no TFR at that particular location, and he put in an application. He got his NOTAM. He was permitted to fly. But even beyond that, the people from the stadium came out in their golf cart and they were about to go and have him bundled up, and then the police came, and then even the FBI came. But he said, here's my piece of paper from the FAA that authorises me to do this. So don't be afraid to ask and get permission to do something if you really want to do it.
Yep, we totally agree. You know, we fly a lot in Sydney Harbour here, as you know, and now it's a fairly streamlined activity. You fill it out, you've got a 48 hours notice to give if you want to fly. You won't get above 200 feet usually in terms of an approval, but yeah, it's a straight ahead thing, a basic application. Put it in. You know, put something in where you can start the practice of, applying for this stuff. They'll say yes. You go and do the flight. Everybody's happy, and then gradually work your way up to the more complex tasks. So start off nice and simple. Even pick one where you might not need. The FAA could come back and say, you know, you're good to go here under the current. Most of us want to do the right thing, and putting your hand up and saying, can you do it? If you can't do it, you know, it's going to be probably a definite no, and you'll think twice about doing it. So you won't get bundled up by the FBI, which would be costly in many ways.
Yeah, absolutely. Just we're having some difficulties with our internet here, as we often do. I'm just giving instructions to my producer. Go to the output menu in Wirecast, and in there you can find the statistics, and that will help you to know what's happening. So just click back on Wirecast, and then at the top, output, and show statistics. Top left, output, show statistics. You
know, Greg, I actually heard quite honestly that 42.97% of all statistics are made up on the spot.
Yeah, okay, interesting. Let's go on. Speaking of statistics, we've got some later on today, actually. What I might do now, we're going to go to our next story. So we've got a story about an underwater drone. Having crowdfunded its earlier underwater drone project last year, the Chinese startup Yukan Robot has launched its new underwater UAV. Amongst other things, it features a 6 times optical zoom lens. So I just thought I'd put that up on the screen for people that are interested in the underwater world. I didn't bring any audio with it, but certainly another nice product to go and explore robotics in a different way, and a UAV in a different kind of scenario.
Oh, that's absolutely fabulous. I mean, what a great thing for tour operators and, you know, people. You can take people out. They can't always dive. They can't always swim, but to get down there and zoom around and see it. Well, of course, the natural extension of an underwater drone is to put VR goggles on. And that'd be absolutely magnificent, you know. Yeah, that's a great video. I'm enjoying that.
And at the same time, I'm going and fixing things in front. Back again. Okay. So let's leave that story alone. I've got something that I think you'll enjoy, John, with our next story. So Tom Cruise will be flying high in his Top Gun 2 in summer 2020, with actors getting older all the time, of course. You know, eventually he's not going to be able to do Top Gun 3 or Top Gun 4. So what's the solution to that? So possibly Robopilot might be the answer to keep the Top Gun franchise alive indefinitely. So if you can just look there, John, we got a Cessna kind of aircraft, and they've done it with a number of different types of aircraft. Pull out the seat, put in the robotic pilot that's able to control and fly the aircraft. Have you seen much like this around?
I have seen, not with the Cessna, of course the military have been mucking around with radio control. You could fly a radio control plane like that pretty easily. Got to have the right servos for the controls. You can put a Pixhawk in it. It's a fairly safe, because it's a basic aircraft. One of the good things about that is it's not complex. And with a few simple servos, I mean, a Cessna with an autopilot in it and a wing leveler only needs to have a thrust servo. Now that's a bit of gear, isn't it? Look at that right there. That's amazing.
Yeah. So this is doing remote control as opposed to autopilot.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, so you can still, of course, fly in the aircraft. But my point about the autopilot is, most general aviation autopilots have servo motors on the trim, and so it keeps wing leveling, altitude, and so forth. So you can actually fly the aeroplane pretty much with the autopilot, and the servo motor's already there. What you don't have is throttle, of course, but that's a pretty easy fix.
Yeah. So it looks interesting, but just on that topic, John, this is not the first time that we've seen certainly autopilot systems being retrofitted into older aircraft. We've got one other video here that I thought I'd share.
Oh yeah, there you go. It's a hospital. What is it? It's a big building with lots of sick people. Do you like gladiator movies? Hang on, she's and the autopilot's about to go down, or she is. That's
I cut that bit out. I cut that bit out.
Oh, thank you. Please.
35,000 feet. No, wait, 34,000 feet. No, it's dropping. It's dropping fast. Why is it
anyway,
doing that?
Enough of that.
Reminds me, I must go and watch it again. I didn't like all the sequels, of course, but the first one was the classic. I could see Lloyd laughing in the background. Our guest, he's digging it.
Yeah, look, I just thought I'd put that up there for a little bit of a laugh. But moving on to our next story now, the Queensland Labor government is facing accusations of overselling the job creation benefits of a new automated drone delivery service. Wing recorded revenue of more than $5 million during the period, spending $305,000 in salaries, and they recorded a profit of $335,000 on which they had to pay tax. So the rest of the money's gone somewhere, and from what they gather, the opposition is saying it's all going overseas, and they were a little bit unhappy about that.
Yeah, with good reason, I think. We've got some questions about Wing. I don't want to put anything out there or suggest anything, but the questions are floating around now in the industry about some of the things they're doing, and who knows, we just have to wait and see. But I'm glad someone's looking at it. I mean, they're first of all, they've failed on a couple of fronts with the technology. The aircraft was too loud. It was oversold. So, we've got a hamburger delivery service. So anyway, let's see what happens.
Can I just ask, John, just so I make sure I respect your timing, what time does your plane depart?
Now, hang on a second. Okay, so the inbound flight has just arrived. People are walking off.
Okay, so I got a little bit of time.
Yeah, I'm going to bug out in about 5 or 10 minutes anyway, because I know Lloyd's sitting there too.
Yeah, okay. There's one, the next story is one that I definitely do want to do with yourself around if we can. So UAV Coach surveyed 1,389 of their drone pilot ground school students to get an insight into how the drone industry is doing. The survey provides valuable information on the true nature of the drone bubble. Now, I've got 4 slides that I'm going to quickly put up on the screen. The first one is, what do you fly? Mavic and Phantom pilots account for 94% of those surveyed. What was a little bit amusing is the 51 people who don't know what aircraft they are flying, but other than that, DJI has definitely got a stronghold in that first statistic there.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. I really enjoyed the survey. I had a good read of it. And what it was really about was sort of what kind of money you can make getting in, how many people are working for themselves, what the benefits are, what it's going to be like in your first year. in the first year, most people are making less than $10,000. So it's not a sort of an affordable. The people surveyed through UAV Coach, with great respect, weren't right across the UAS industry. I don't know whether some people in some UAS jobs would even be able to answer a survey like that. You know, so that the reach is a little bit of a problem. When you cast the net very wide, you're always going to, again, dealing with statistics, work it out. 51 people, don't know what aircraft they're flying. I mean,
I think that's more to do with perhaps they're flying corporate built aircraft and it's an internal one and it's none of the above. And, they didn't know exactly what it is. It was built in-house, perhaps. Yeah. Having a look at the second stat, let's quickly put this one up. So the second one, what industry do you work for? A company that uses if you're in a company that uses drones, certainly mining and construction are big, followed by energy. And in the third one, if you are self-employed, 45.9% of pilots have not made any money with drones over the last 12 months. So
I think that says it. Now, look, that again tells you the people that have done the survey. Having said that, again, I think it's good. It's a good survey. It's actually good to look at it and talk about it because these sort of things really do give you a bit of a look at the health and also get people who want to come into the industry with a little bit of a heads up on what it's like. That it has a minimum of 1,500 hours. I mean, that's a lot of flying before I can fly aeromedical work. And then, I say I've got 6,000 now and, you're learning all the time. One of the big things to get is experience in doing the work. So my message to all of those people who going out and taking photos, get some experience photographing buildings, infrastructure, do it safely, but rack those hours up. It's all very well to go and hunt the work, but when you actually have to do it and you have to produce deliverables, whether they're survey or not, you have to have hours in the logbook. It's the only thing that's really going to be money in the bank for you is those hours.
And just briefly before we finish on this, the last slide we've got, self-employed pilots work mostly in real estate, photography and in construction. So if you do want to make money, real estate was the number one industry, followed by photography, videography, cinema kind of stuff, and followed by construction. Those are the top three areas.
Yeah, and I think that shows again the survey as well, the people that photographs for a house for a couple of $100, and start there.
Yeah. Okay, how are we doing with your aircraft over there, Johnny?
Well, you know what? I reckon it's time for me to bail and go and collect myself and sneak on here before I go too much further. And I'm going to say, been great to join you again. I'll be watching as much of the rest of the show as I can, and look forward to hearing our guest, Lloyd's, coming in today, which is great.
Well, he didn't know about it until a few minutes before the show, but it's all good. Hey, Lloydie, how you doing? Thanks, John.
See you, guys. I'll be watching. Bye now.
Okay.
I'm doing good.
There we go. How are you?
And I'm okay. You gave me about this much notice, and of course, I didn't get a chance to set up my green screen because I was doing something else with all of that at the time. So
it's all good. It's all fine.
But it works,
Okay. Well, let's move on to our next news story for the moment, and it is this one. The Russian Ministry of Defense shared a video of a new twin-engine Altius unmanned aerial vehicle. The drone, under development for several years, reportedly experienced cost overruns and was behind schedule for several years. The aircraft is described as a spy plane, but appears to have the ability to carry weapons. So the other thing I did notice about this one, it certainly has reportedly the ability to fly for 24 hours endurance before it needs to come in and go to the gas station.
Yeah. Just what we need. Russians flying around with armed drones.
Yeah. Look, I think they've been playing catch up, I think, and
yeah.
I won't make commentary about this country versus that country, but from a pure aviation perspective, always good to see new aircraft. Maybe what they do with it's another story.
Yeah, that's it right there.
Yeah.
And this is prop driven. Okay, cool.
And next on the list, it's holiday season coming up in the US, and DJI is usually prepared for this time of year. So why are many of the products out of stock in the DJI online store? Is it to prepare for a new model? Is it related more to supply chain issues that we've spoken about many times before? Or is it something else? Have DJI got another surprise ready to announce? I'm going to make a guess here. And one of the commentators that had spoken about this had, I think, hit the nail right on the head. And they said they thought it was maybe retooling their boards to go and do sense and avoid technology, where they would be finding out where the other drones are that are within a certain proximity, having them come up on your DJI 4 Go 4 app, and also potentially the ADS-B to go and know where other aircraft are around you. If that is what it is, I think that's going to be an exciting development.
Yeah, I mean, that would be good if they, if we had that type of avoidance. And no, I don't think the Inspire. It could be the Inspire 3 Mini that they're retooling for. Who knows?
Look, either way.
That's a running joke with me and Mel.
Yeah. The fact that they don't have any stock for just about all of their drones, they're all depleted for just about everything. I think that's very telling. There's some change coming up. It's either the supply chain issues that we've spoken about before, right? So their suppliers, one of them certainly was doing some bad things, and they had to go and give them the hoy. If it's not more of that, then we have to assume it's something good. What would it be that would be good across the entire product line? And the most likely thing is a big major change. And they've been doing a lot of discussion and talking about safety being their priority recently. So let's hope it is that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, if there was some sort of way to do the tracking better so that, aircraft would know they're there, so we'd know aircraft were in the area without, have some sort of detection devices. You've talked about on here several times, I think.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to be aircraft seeing where a drone is. I don't think that's going to come with this iteration, because that can already be done today with software, right? So there's no reason why you couldn't turn on broadcast my signal if DJI wanted to create that function and send it into your local authority in your country, right? So that's something that doesn't need a hardware change. The other stuff does need hardware changes, so that may be what's happening there. Moving on, we've got a couple more news stories today, and the next one, you've got to have balls to talk about this one. That's all I'm going to say. Counter UAS solutions are a regular drone discussion topic on our channel. One solution that has not been previously touted is the use of tennis balls. And here we see Serena Williams giving a Mavic a bit of a serve.
Oh, ow.
Let's play that again.
I mean, yeah.
So why do I share this footage? Okay, so other than the pure enjoyment of watching it, a couple of things. One, it was an experiment just to see what it does take to get a drone to come down. And apparently, according to the reports, it takes 3 Serena Williams serves. The first one wasn't strong enough. The second one wasn't strong enough, but 3 times a charm. So that's the first topic, just out of interest.
Right.
And the second part of that is a bit of a discussion on what does that mean from a legal perspective. Now, in the case of that particular drone and that particular aircraft, it belonged to, I believe, her partner. And it had already crashed and the camera was dead and, they were going to get a new one anyway. So they kind of sacrificed it for science, which is a noble thing to do.
Right,
But here's the point. If you're Serena Williams and your neighbour's flying a pesky drone, is it legal for you to fire a tennis ball at that drone and serve and have it come down out of the air?
No, I don't believe you can take out a drone, whether you're using a pellet gun, a pistol, or a tennis ball. I don't think you're allowed to, or rocks. I don't think you're allowed to do that. It's an aircraft, and you're bringing it down. So no.
It absolutely correct. And the reason for bringing this up, the penalty for bringing down an aircraft with tennis balls is no different to bringing down a jumbo jet with a missile over when it happened over in where was that? The jet that was brought down a few years ago. I think that was a Malaysian Air one, wasn't it? Yeah, you know the
Malaysian
one I mean.
Air. Yeah. I think it was Malaysian Air. Yeah.
At the end of the day, if it's an aircraft and it's flying, it's going to go somewhere, it's going to hit somewhere, it's going to hurt someone. So you just need to remind people, don't try to bring down drones unless it's your drone, and then you can have some fun with it. Anyway.
Yeah, I got one quick question.
Yeah.
Is tennis ball damage covered by DJI Care Refresh?
It depends if you launch the ball. If you didn't launch the ball, it's covered.
Okay, all right.
Right? Okay. And our last news story for today. I've got a big title for this one, and it deserves one. So, fishing with drones is a topic that we've heard about many times. Tim French and his mates in Australia went fishing on Upper Colaban Reservoir near Kyneton, Kyneton. I don't know how to say that, and I'm an Australian. Kyneton in Victoria. Anyway, but they did things a little bit differently, using a drone to fly above the water for their catch. The idea of a human lifting drone came about after they had seen other models overseas. The builders said in one press article, "We thought it can't be too hard to do this." On that front, they were definitely wrong, but it's certainly an interesting outcome. Let's have a look.
Holy shit! What the hell? Holy shit!
Only in Australia.
Yeah.
So there is one essential feature that was definitely captured with this one. Now, other than the problems with the trees there, the essential feature is the stubby holder in the chair that's below.
Yeah.
Do you know what what a stubby holder is?
Yes, it's something to hold your beer. Yeah.
Okay, just making sure it wasn't an Australian only term.
No. Well, the reason I know is because if you remember last week or week before, whenever it was, I brought up the Stump the Yank questions. That was one of them I asked.
Yeah. Look, they're doing all of the right things from a safety perspective there. And here we go. Australian flag, the chair, the stubby holder on the side. I think we've got all of the right ingredients.
Yeah. This is definitely one. Here, hold my beer while I do this. And, this reminds me, you always talk about geofencing, right?
Yeah.
I was going to put the link to this video up. It's geofenced for me. I'm in America. I can't put the link up. I can't even play it.
It won't let you play this video?
No. It says I'm outside the area. No. It's Australia only.
Oh, guys, this video is absolutely incredible. And I spoke to Lloyd before the show. I asked him to put the link for this video into the chat so you guys can check it out. I'll find the link during FPV Korner, and I'll post it later on. I want you to go to this guy's channel and definitely, subscribe to it. Incredible work that they've done. And I love the choice of music.
This is definitely a would you write it.
Only in Australia would you write it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So that was really, really cool. Lloyd,
Yeah.
would you ride it? Would you do that over the water?
No. No. Because if he had a beer, think of the guys operating it. They had beers too. No.
True. Very true.
No way. Yeah, no.
Very true. Okay. So on from that. Now, I didn't book a guest. I was talking to a couple of people to be a guest on the show today, but I didn't end up booking someone because the internet was up and down throughout the week. And I said to myself, look, I don't want to have someone on as a guest and have things go wrong. And even during the show today, yes, it's been buffering a few times during the show. Have you seen it, Lloyd, or?
I've noticed it buffer a little bit here and there, but it's not been excessively bad.
Okay. We've been getting the big red light over here on the screen, I'll say that much. But
right.
So we didn't have a guest. So my titles over here, what they've got on the screen is guest TBA. So your new name, Lloyd, is TBA.
TBA. Yeah, I'm getting used to that.
Yeah. So I literally called Lloyd a couple of minutes before the show because I was having trouble contacting John as well. So Lloyd has no content and we've got nothing to talk about. So let's move right on. Okay, and we're into the news-free zone. Okay. I love this song. You guys, I don't know if you've heard it before, but have I told you where it comes from?
I think you did, but I've slept since then.
Okay, and the Alzheimer's has kicked in, either that or the meds.
Yeah. One of them had, yeah.
Yeah. The news-free zone comes from, there was an Australian comedian called Graham Bond, and he was on the ABC, on ABC television, and his character was called Auntie Jack. So if you can imagine this big, buffy, hairy guy dressed up in a black dress with a golden boxing glove on one hand.
I just do not imagine that.
I'll ask anyone who's interested, go and have a look. Go and do a Google for Auntie Jack. There's some great comedy in there. It's early Australian television, but a little bit of fun. But we'll put that aside for now. Let's fade that out. There we go. So let's move on with FPV Korner. So with further ado, let's give it a go. So this one's from Cruiser's FPV, and it looks similar to one that we've seen before from him, but it's not the same. Cruiser's FPV, he's got a lot of these because he practices in the same park every day after work. So I would definitely ask people to visit his channel, Cruiser's FPV. The link is in the description. And check out his other great clips. Subscribe and hit the bell. This bloke is really good, and those are the words from Greg Hilton, our segment producer for that. So, Lloydie, have you had the chance to do much FPV flying yet?
I've not
done
any.
Are you strictly GPS?
I'm strictly GPS. The closest I've come was, and it's not FPV flying, obviously, is flying the micro mini drone. So if you can get one of those to stay up in the air for 3 seconds or more, you've accomplished something. They're just that bad. And I don't have the patience or the eye-hand coordination to do something like this. Unless it has altitude hold, I'm screwed. Because I just can't. I don't have the eye-hand coordination. So nope, I'm strictly GPS, and I'm not ashamed to admit it. I would love to be able to do this, but I just know a man has to know his limitations.
Okay. It's certainly some awesome flying though.
I'm always impressed when I see this stuff. It just, it's what I would love to be able to do, but I just know that I can't do it. So I accept it, and I enjoy other people's videos, and it saves me money because that means I don't have to go buy all that stuff.
Pardon me, I'm just going to try and find the link to that other video, and I just pressed the wrong button. I can't find that link now, unfortunately. I'll find it after the show, and I'll put it as in the description for the video. But I would definitely, I would definitely encourage people to check back, have a look at the description after the show, and please go and check the guy out and support the channel. It was an incredible piece of footage. As is this one, Cruises FPV. He does some great flying on a regular basis, so please do go and check him out as well. So at this point, while this video is playing out, question to our audience here, if there's someone who hasn't been on the show before who wants to jump in just for a quick 5 minutes, say hello. Say so in the chat, we'll send you a link, preferably someone who hasn't been on before. That would be really, really cool. Let's have a quick look at the chat. Mr. Stay Drunk Grand, constant 95 meg down, 38 meg up. Yeah, thank you for that very much. Making me feel jealous. But then again, we did see the internet speeds from Ken yesterday. That was not great to see that, and particularly compared to mine. What else have we got here? Yeah. Where do you put the empties from the previous clip? Don't know the answer to that. Would you write it? Okay. So anyone interested in coming in who hasn't been on the show before, like I said, we don't have a planned guest here today. So my plan right now is we're going to go straight into Explore Australia, to that last part of the show. And then if there's anyone who wants to come in, we'll finish with that today. But right now, let's do Explore Australia.
That works for me.
This first clip is from Ciaran Buckley. Link to his channel is in the description. Please do check it out. The Hawaii of Northern Queensland is how he describes this, and this is Rex Lookout. Quick morning flight from the beautiful Rex Lookout in Northern Queensland, Australia. Our second clip today from Braden Vickery, snow at Ben Lomond near another place I haven't pronounced before, Guyra in New South Wales. So this is some footage of some massive snowfall that fell in the northern tablelands of New South Wales on the 10th and 11th of August 2019, so just very, very recent. We've had some very, very weird weather in Australia recently, and certainly in Sydney. Lots and lots and lots of wind, but it's freezing. It's freezing cold lately, and you know, we've got lots of wind on top of that, so definitely not global warming where we are at the moment.
Yeah. Well, with all the stuff going on here, we just got a lot of hot air blowing around. But I think that's our politics.
Either that or your cows.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've only been to the snow a couple of times myself, and certainly I didn't bring a drone with me because I know it wasn't permitted in that park there, but just with the normal camera it's very difficult with all of that white coming in to go and get a nicely balanced shot. But anyway, moving on to our third clip today. Nature's Films is the name of the channel. This was footage taken with a DJI Mavic Air. And I think that's pretty incredible for such a small little drone, taken in 4K at King Island, Tasmania, Australia. And he says this is his best footage from 2019. Locations including King Island, some crystal clear beaches and jutting stone cliffs, all captured in 4K.
Wow.
He says the islands cannot be any more perfect, and these drone videos perfectly capture the raw landscape. The King Islands truly amaze with beach waterfalls, rocky rivers and rolling ocean waves. This particular island, it's in Bass Strait, having a place with the Australian state of Tasmania. It's the biggest of 3 islands known as the New Year Group, and the second biggest island in Bass Strait after the Flinders Island. Population in 2016 was 1,585 people, so very small, up a little bit from the previous numbers. You were going to ask something, Grumpy?
Yeah, the color on this is, I just wonder if it's color grading or is that water normally looked at that turquoise teal blue?
Well, I haven't been to King Island, so I don't want to comment, and he certainly didn't comment about color grading on there, but it sounds like he's a photographer, videographer, so I would assume he's probably tried to make it look good.
Right.
And it certainly does, but you've got to have the raw material anyway.
Oh yeah, that's just gorgeous.
Speaking of gorgeous, Osbeach Andy is certainly a regular. Yep. This is the McLaren Vale wineries and vineyards at pruning time. It's a wine region in South Australia, located in the Adelaide metropolitan area and centred on the town of McLaren Vale, which is about 38 kilometres south of Adelaide. This was originally named after either David McLaren. He was the colonial manager of the South Australia Company, or John McLaren. They're not related. And he surveyed the area in 1839. If I was going to make a guess, I'd say the guy who surveyed it was probably more likely. Zebmeet is asking which drone was used. I don't know if Andy's in the chat today.
I haven't seen him in there, but that doesn't mean he's not in there. I know that the one before this, out there on the beach and everything, that was done with a Mavic Air 4K.
Okay.
is what I think is what you said, wasn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've just posted a link in the chat for anyone who's a first timer who hasn't been on the screen before. Love to have particular. Oh, there we go. Oz Beach Andy, Phantom 3 Pro.
3 Pro. Okay. All right.
See, he was there.
Well, yeah. Well, he didn't answer, so I said I didn't know if he was there, but I hadn't seen him so far.
Well, you haven't got your spectacles on.
Well, that's true too. But I've got it zoomed up where I can see it. I don't need my spectacles.
I'm just looking at Lloyd now in the camera preview and putting the spectacles on the end of his nose and looking even older than normal.
Being nice because I don't know when the camera will shoot back to me, so I won't do it. I won't salute you like I did earlier on the chat that we had earlier.
Okay. Okay, and our final one today. Skyland AV Solutions Tasmania is the name, the title of just Tasmania is. And he says, we're so lucky to call this beautiful state our own. It really does have some of the most amazing scenery that the world has to offer. And very, very soon, my parents are actually going to go to Tasmania and they're going to catch the ferry from Melbourne to Devonport, and that should be interesting. They'll have a lot of fun over there. I've done that trip a long time ago and, just circumnavigate Tasmania.
Right. Cindy says, oh, color, yes.
And that's this week's Explore Australia. So that was really nice to have a look at. Couple of quick things. Number one, thank you to Greg Hilton, as always, for putting together Explore Australia and also FPV Korner. He does both of those ones for us. The news, that one is worked on by myself and Jeff Sills. Just want to acknowledge Jeff for a lot of the work that he does in some of that. We've got a great little machine in the back end that now gets a lot of that news for us a little bit easier, and that helps a lot. Next week, all things being equal, we're going to try and do that fly there experiment again. That,
okay,
technical things permitting and scheduling. I know we were actually going to do it this week, but the tech guy that got the wrong day last week was on leave this week, so that's why we couldn't do it at the moment.
Send him about a 3-day notice and say it'll be tomorrow, and then each day do that, and he'll eventually be there on time.
Well, a couple of quick announcements for the end of the show. As always, if you've got videos you'd like to share with us, upload at gregkuhnert.com, send me an email. If you would like to do us a favour and follow us on social media, please do. And even better than that, share out this video to your friends, to your colleagues, ask them to come and watch it with you, particularly next weekend, because if we do get it next weekend and we've got the fly there thing happening, you'll be piloting a drone and it will be live on the show, and then someone else will pilot a drone and someone else, and maybe even your auntie, your uncle or whoever, if they want to give it a go as well, that would be really cool. postal address, if you'd like to send us anything, is PO Box 241, Sylvania Southgate, New South Wales 2224. So we've reached the end of the show. Like I said, we only had the news and the regular segments today. Just a quick little peek at the chat to see if there's anything there.
Well, other than the fact that I called Bill from Coast to Coast Drones, Mitch, who is old guy in a drone, you know, my memory is, I did that, last week or week before I did that to Glenn, who is Thunderbird 6. I called him, by Mad Kiwis, but I called him Craig, but my mind is gone, guys. I don't,
Well, look, you're calling these guys all sorts of things, but it's okay. They call you lots of things too, I'm sure.
I'm sure they do, yeah.
None of which we can broadcast here.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Look, guys, we'll leave it there for today. It's been a fun show, and I'll look forward to next time seeing you then. And I'm just looking up to my producer, who should be getting the outro shot ready on the screen. She's there. She's busy writing down some notes. I don't know what it is, and I'm thinking, hello, pay attention. We're still here. It's all good. I love you, darling. Okay, that's all. It's been fun. See you next time, everyone. Bye-bye for now.
Later, everyone.